All right, this message is going to be regarding some fundamentals that I believe help me in my spiritual journey. In the background, you can actually hear the song that I composed called Suspend. There's a video that I turned it into a meditation when I slowed it down um, like 10 times. I was messing around by accident and I found out, hey man, this sort of sounds like the planets because around that same time I had heard the planets, how they were depicted, you know. So I thought it was sort of appropriate just to play it so people can hear exactly what this song actually sounds like. But that is a whole different thing, a whole journey playing the piano. It was and I'm still learning, still trying, you know. I'm not by far great at it, but I'm pretty good at composing songs when I want to. My biggest problem is I just don't practice enough. I should practice more, like a real person trying to learn. But what happened is I got caught up and I started composing songs and using my, arranger keyboard and got into that and DAWs. And next thing I know, I was like, man, just making my songs. Forgot fundamentals. I know nothing about music theory, any of that stuff. So barely know chords, whatever sounds good to me. I just play by ear. So anyway, that's Suspend. So I guess wanted to make this short video because I'm sort of late on making a video. Not that I want this to be my thing of, having a YouTube channel or anything like that. I've always had one, I just never put videos on it. But I think it's important for me to share my story and my experiences with people, you know. Um, be that sort of like I said, I have a background that I was an addict, an alcoholic, for many years, well over 30 something years. Habits that I couldn't kick, anywhere from heroin, cocaine, alcohol. Those are the main big ones that I, would always go back to. A little lesser on the heroin because of the simple fact that it's horrible. But the other two, like alcohol, yeah, big on that one. That was my best buddy. And cocaine, that's his best friend. So, but I whipped them. I whipped them, and I'm never going back. And I can say that confidently. And that's part of the reason I did not like um, AA or NA because they make you say, "Oh, once an addict, always an addict" type thing, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, to go on with it, I just wanted to bring up part of the reason my first video I was just speaking about the power of African spirituality and the innate power it brings along with it, whether we realize it or not. It's a pretty simple concept, but of course, we as humans, we complicate it big time, So I can say one of the first ways I started incorporating Kemet into my spirituality. Well, in my last video, I was speaking about following guys like Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Wayne Dyer, anyone who was speaking of changing from the mind, from inside out, And one thing that they all could agree upon or that they all said was meditation was the key. And that's as well as other teachers and scholars. And I meditated back in my 20s and felt some pretty profound um, energy, flowing around my body and stuff. And never really got into the big calmness. I was smoking weed and doing it back then, but whatever. It worked a little bit. So, but when I started doing meditations and I started doing like the mantra meditations, and I knew nothing about chakras about 3 years ago, and I started doing chakra meditations and One day I was doing that Joe Dispenza meditation where he's like, pull it up and, pull it up from your root all the way up and, with your breath and it shot and I had a gratitude. I thought about my grandmother who passed away and I could see her smiling at me and I had just like this love and gratitude feeling and bam, I just shot off into this what they call I think samadhi and I was just like holy crap and I was stuck in this ecstasy for a minute having a vision. It seemed like a vision of the past, like I went back. It seemed like I could have been somewhere like in Sedona, like a desert kind of rocky area like that, Colorado, Sedona, somewhere. And I was walking with a group of us, and we were all dressed in like long kind of garb. And we were just headed to like, I think, one of like the vortex centers to pray and meditate and stuff. And I could see that, and I could just was like, wow. And then the voice just said, hey, this is what you used to do. And I was like, whoa. So I say all that just to say that the meditation is powerful. It's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool of calming your mind and of getting rid of all the distractions that keep us stuck in our old way of being in the past and our old personalities. And that's our biggest enemy is our old personality. I can say that for sure. And it's an extremely hard thing to get out of because we're conditioned, from a young age by our family, by schools. We're taught all the way up through college, by society, by our jobs, by our friends, peers. Everybody is just stuck in this way, and we know nothing different. And that's why it's so difficult to get out of. So, it can be done, just like anything can be done. And that's part of the hack of playing the piano. Started learning at 48. I'm 50 now. Just to prove to myself that something as difficult as that can be done by somebody like me. Because, what they say back in the days, you can't teach a new dog new tricks or stuff like something like that. And that's just not true. It's just not true. So I started using that as a hack as well. Along with the meditation, I started using that as a hack and just started changing the way I did things. So now let's just get real quick to where the Kemet and spiritual practice came in. So I brought the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I think it's called Pert Em Heru, the thing I couldn't say last time. And I had one version, it was by Wallace Budge, but it was like full of like references and everything, and it was a little difficult to read. Plus, it wasn't fun to look at. You just see text. It's like, come on, man. Your eyes get tired. Mine do. So I bought this one, right? And this one's cool because it has like a lot of the illustrations, from the plate itself, so you can see, the actual writing in hieroglyphic form, and hieroglyphic text, Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's a good book. But this book starts out with, when you read it, it's sort of like hard to read, sort of like the Bible, because it's written in Old English with the these, thous, and doeth, and all that stuff. I was used to it because I've done it before when I was a religious fanatic for a little while. So it starts out with a hymn of praise to Ra, who they call the sun god. Ra to me, Ra to most who know, is the very energy of creation itself. Without the sun, we wouldn't be here, And that's just simple facts, And so the hymn of praise and the recognition and the sort of honor and love that you give towards the sun is the same kind of love it's giving to you. You're giving it back by paying attention and understanding that without the sun you wouldn't be here. That's gratitude. And that's one of the biggest things you have to have in order to make changes in your life. You have to have gratitude. You can look up many people who give you in-depth talks and conversations about gratitude and how it works, even down to a cellular level. And the biggest thing you have to understand that if you can't have gratitude for the sun, which is the very reason you're here, then it's going to be a little bit impossible for you to have gratitude for anything else. And that's also because the sun is the hugest thing, the most powerful thing we know in our existence. Most people can't even look at the sun, or let alone sit outside in the sun for long, And it's the most powerful thing that we know of. And if we can't have gratitude for that, we'll never have gratitude for anything else. So that alone is one of the things that started to change me. In the mornings I would get up and I would do and hear the very first hymn that they have. The very first thing is a hymn of praise to Ra, and I would read that in the morning. Not even totally understood what it said, but I'd read that in the morning, and then I think there was a guy, what was his name? Mitchell? Oh, I can't remember his name. It's a black guy, and his last name is Mitchell, I think. But anyway, he gave me a mantra to say. It's a mantra that is supposed to bring about the light body. And he gave me this mantra to say while staring at the sun, or not really at it, but around the sun in a clockwise fashion. It is called the Vajraguru mantra. And I used to say that mantra, in the mornings while I stared at the sun gazed. And I just felt better each and every day. I grew stronger, And one of the things that I can say is part of the reason, and even in my mind, I started to think, hey man, there's like some deep stuff behind this, because I'd see the sun and I'd look and it'd be just pulsating, like just energy just shooting off, and you could just see it. And I'd be like, that's not just, that's light. And at the same time, let me just say, I was learning more things about the quantum and physics, and about the structures of light and how light worked, and how we're pretty much just all light. And I was like, wait a minute, this stuff is deep. And so I was looking, I said, well, the sun's rays, we can see some of them, but the majority of the energy we can't see. We can feel it. It has an impact on us. It'll change our skin color. It'll make us happy. It'll even go down to the levels of our serotonin and boost that. I'm like, the sun is talking a language. It's spitting off like a language, if you want to look at it that way, to everything. Its energy is speaking to us in that sense, And so, yeah, I wanted to be there every day to have that conversation with the sun. And the more I did, the more strength I gathered mentally, spiritually, the more I was able to control my thoughts, the deeper my meditations got, the more involved my insights became. It just all around made me better and better and better to have that gratitude. Even when some days I just be like, this is stupid, what am I doing? Or thinking like my neighbors might drive by and see me on my deck, elevated deck, looking over at the sun in a position of meditation, thinking out how that would seem, But that was just, things I had to get past, which were very important. There's still a lot of those I have to get past, because I'll face that kind of thing everywhere in society. But that's just part of me growing into who I'm supposed to become. Okay? And who I am becoming, and who I am, my higher self, growing back into my higher self. I was once there. I remember being very close there when I was a kid. And a lot of times when I have flashbacks and those moments of clarity and happiness, it feels just like when I was a child, and younger, And so I can understand what Jesus would mean by being born again, and being as a little kid, because that's where your authentic true self. So it's sort of a challenge to get back there, but we can all do it. And I'm getting there slowly but surely. The other day, I was doing the thing I mentioned in the other video about taking the zodiac and putting the Neter back where they belong in the zodiac, like they're supposed to go. Like, remember, I compared Heru with the Leo, the lion, for that season. And I was doing that for every sign that was in the moon. When the sign was in the moon, I'd study that sign, or I'd study that Neter and that sign. I'd cross-reference everything and learn more and more. I learned about a few signs, but then I came across this one sign. I'm not gonna give it away because I got to make another video about it because it's a little involved. And further study into this sign and the aspects and just the personality traits, the concepts of the sign led me to find out why I reincarnated into this life this time around and what my purpose is. And it's such a profound revelation that, my very name is, I name myself in accordance with this revelation, in other words, this purpose. And that's part of the reason I'm making this video. There may be mistakes in it, but I'm gonna keep it because, hey, it's part of my journey. And so anyway, look forward to that. I'll probably make another video a little more well scripted the next time. And that's about it. So I hope you enjoy it. All right.